watching the Scottish Football Zone with all the build-up and reactions.
And thank you for joining us. Yes, you've not misplaced your computer. You've not broken into a virus. We are on a Monday. It's great to see you, Ethan.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me on, Regan. It's good to be on to talk about the football. It's a very busy period. We had European football last week, league at the weekend, and we've got even more European football this week. And it'll be interesting to recap this weekend's action because there was a lot of talking points.
No worries. Have you had a good day so far?
Yeah, good day. Yeah, good day. Yeah, yourself?
Aye, no bad. And then I'm looking forward to talking Scottish football with you, so it should be good. And hopefully we'll be joined by Robbie. I was saying to him yesterday, he predicted a 5-0 win, but at least he's still got the one goal margin of victory.
Yeah. Aye. I don't know where he was going with the Celtic 5-0 against Hibs. I think that was a bit bold, but you know, these things are hard to call. And on another day, we'll get on to it, but Celtic probably could have won by quite a comfortable margin.
Yeah, I mean, probably the first match we should start on that is taking the headlines of the weekend, and that was 3-0 to Hearts versus Falkirk.
Yep, exactly that. Hearts go to the outright top of the league now, and it would have took a tough task even if Celtic had won at Celtic Park. Hearts would have probably been top on goal difference anyway. They were brilliant against Falkirk, scored some excellent goals, dominated the match for most of it. Very deserving of their 3-0 lead and some great goals. The two in the first half especially. Alexandros Kasridis, we've seen that he's been a match winner for Hearts already this season. He came off the bench and got an assist and got the winning goal at Livingston, and the celebrations there. And yeah, an excellent goal. He beats Kieran Adams, then takes it away from Brad Spencer, and then just curls it into the top corner from 25 yards or so out. It's a really, really good goal of the weekend, I think, with hands down. And then Lauren Shanklin scores a really nice strike from outside the area just before half-time to put Hearts on easy street and put Celtic under a real pressure to win at Celtic Park. And obviously they couldn't do it. Hearts rivals, Hibernian, helped them out to the top of the league. And then Craig Halkett opened the second half with a goal as well, with a Kasridis assist. So 3-0. Not happy travels for John McGlynn back to Tynecastle. He's got a connection there, and yeah, Hearts are looking really, really strong. And I think I've spoke about Celtic looking better and better by the game, and I think we'll get on to that. But Hearts are also looking better and better by the game, and they look to be steadily improving under Derek McInnes. And of course, you've got to remember that he's a new manager in there. And he's got a lot of new players like Kasridis, who's already got 4 goals and 4 assists this season in 9 matches. A great pickup from the Slovakian league, I believe, where he scored 16 goals and 4 assists last season. And yeah, they look like a real force that are going to be difficult to stop. They've already went to Ibrox and comfortably won on the day, and they'll be confident to go up against anyone in the Scottish Premiership with the form they're on.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a question for you because I think this is about not talked about enough, right? As you look at, people say, well, Aberdeen done well last year. Yeah, but you look at Aberdeen's first 5 fixtures last year. Aberdeen played St Johnstone away, Dundee United at home, St Mirren at home. You know, wasn't it like the big ones that Hearts are playing? I know Robbie will come in and go, well, St Mirren's a big team. Oh, okay, but I mean, for Hearts they played Aberdeen at home the first match of the season. Then they go away to David Martindale's team and get a last minute winner. We've seen how difficult that is yesterday. We'll get on to that. And then they go away to Ibrox and win. And then yesterday to put in that performance was brilliant. So I know people can say about Aberdeen, I totally get it. But if you look at the fixtures that Hearts have been playing, they'll be much more tougher than last year. And no disrespect to any Aberdeen fans there, but that's just my own personal opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Hearts are in a better place than maybe Aberdeen were when Aberdeen went on that ridiculous run to start last season on Jimmy Tulane. The kind of data showed that Aberdeen were sort of outperforming themselves. And for the start of the season, the first few games, certainly you could make that case for Hearts, but they seem to be growing in confidence. They won by a comfortable margin at Ibrox. They won by an even more comfortable margin at the weekend against Falkirk. Graham in the chat said they were outstanding and they look so much more threatening going forward, not having to rely on Shankland, and that was the problem of last season. Robbie makes the point the Hearts have the best attack in the league by a distance. Then, I mean, looking at the stats of goals scored, you can't really argue with that. They've got 15 goals scored in 6 games, which is 4 more than any other team in the league, almost double the amount of goals that Celtic have scored, and 3 times the amount of goals Rangers have scored in the league. So they're going to score goals pretty much against whoever they play against in the Scottish Premiership. We'll obviously get a massive game against Hibs at the weekend, and if they can come through that with 3 points, then they'll be a real force to be reckoned with, because Celtic haven't hit the heights yet this season, and as we know, although Rangers won at the weekend, they haven't either. So yeah, Hearts are in a really good position, and as long as they keep picking up 3 points on a regular basis, then they can stay at the top of the league and be in the conversation for as long as possible.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing for me is as well, as you look at the strength and depth, and I know it's difficult to say because obviously different squads pick up little niggles and little strains in that. But I mean, if somehow they can just manage to get through to January and not get any big injuries to a Shankland or a Braga or people like that, then I don't think you can be really say that you can expect a drop off from Hearts.
Yeah, no, exactly. And the thing is, even if Lawrence Shankland, although he's obviously one of Hearts' main players, no getting away from that, but even if he was to go out for a period, they've got Braga there, they've got Cabangu, they've got James Wilson. So they've got a lot of quality across the pitch. Alexander Swallow, I haven't seen him in a full game, but I think that's his second start of the weekend, 2 clean sheets from 2 for him. He looked like a great signing coming in, obviously a lot of experience in the Bundesliga. So yeah, they made some great additions, and we've seen this story before under Tony Bloom, and we all laughed when he said, "Oh, I want to win the league in the next decade," or "I want to go for second this season," or whatever it was he said. But I mean, the proof is in the pudding. He's done it in the past with Union Saint-Gilloise. He helped them at their first Belgian league title in 90 years. They started off their Champions League campaign with a brilliant result as well. So he's got a history of doing this, and I think a lot of people still don't believe that Hearts can win the league. I am in that party. I still think Celtic will go on to win the league. But if Hearts keep winning and it comes to the 26th of October, as Robbie's put in the chat, and Hearts could beat Celtic at Tynecastle, then could be talking about a 5-point gap at the top of the league between the two sides if Hearts pick up maximum points between then, and so does Celtic. So you never know, and it's really entertaining because Scottish football has been crying out for something like this for a while, and we thought we had it last season with Aberdeen, and hopefully we have it for a longer period right through the season with Hearts this campaign, because with the squad they've got there's no reason why they can't push right until the end.
And I think if you look at Hearts as well, I think this just makes Scottish football even better, because if you're an American guy sitting in America right now and you're watching Hearts, you're saying, see if I can go to Scotland and I can put a decent team together. Say that this American owner says, I want to join Motherwell. See if he sees the potential in Scottish football to do well. I think potentially over the next 4 or 5 years, Scottish football can really be a trend-setting place to be. because, like, I know Rangers are not at the peak of their powers, but they've got brand new owners, and hopefully Celtic will start to spend a bit of money again, Ethan. And I think as well, I think probably Tony Bones has probably seen that Rangers are not really doing so well this year, and maybe that's why he said that I want to do this because he sees a Celtic team that are okay at the moment, I would say, and he sees a Rangers team that are pretty bang average, and then he goes, well, there's nothing stopping me. I've got a very good manager, and it's not as if Hearts are going to be playing Celtic and Rangers all the time. So as long as they keep winning the matches that they should be winning, then I don't see a problem.
Yeah, and that's the thing across a season, and we'll get on to it when we talk about the Celtic games. Celtic and Rangers, regardless, they'll drop points against every team, or not every team in the league, but they'll drop points and outside of the games against each other. And as long as Hearts minimalise dropping points against teams out with Celtic and Rangers and do well against Celtic and Rangers in the games, maybe go to, already went Ibrox and won, of course, but go to Celtic Park, maybe get a point, beat Celtic at Tynecastle. There's no reason then they can't really compete in. You think of it in the Belgian league, Club Brugge are steps ahead of Celtic and Rangers, you'd have to say, at this current moment, and they didn't win the Belgian league last season, and a lot of people would have put their money there, and that's it. You don't know until it happens. Then no one will really believe it, and it'll come out of nowhere. But I think it'd be a remarkable achievement if Hearts were to win the league this season. But we're so early. As I've said, I still think Celtic will win the league, but with the position Hearts have put themselves in, there's no reason why they can't challenge for it. There's no reason why they can't be up there and maybe upset Rangers and keep second, because it is a big lead they've got on Rangers already, 9 points ahead of Rangers. So that's a lot of points for Hearts to drop and Rangers to gain, especially with how Rangers have been playing at the moment. But Hearts are looking really good. They've got a great manager who knows the Scottish game brilliantly. They've made some great signings who have integrated into the team well, and it's a real feel-good atmosphere at Tynecastle now. And of course, no European football distractions like Aberdeen have, which is probably the last thing they need at the moment.
Yeah, because I'm interested to get Graham's thoughts here, because we've seen it with Rangers. You don't necessarily need to beat Celtic to win the league. I mean, Celtic won the league by 13 points last year, and Rangers beat them so many times. So it's not necessarily you need to beat. It's not necessarily that Derek McInnes has been saying every time you play Celtic we need to beat Celtic. It's not necessarily that. It's just that you can say, right, well, maybe a draw and then beat Rangers, and then try and see what you can do against the rest of the squads. I don't really think necessarily that Derek McInnes will be saying, right, them as a squad definitely need to beat Celtic and Rangers every time they play them.
No, exactly that. It's a long season, and the individual matches mean a lot. The 6-pointers, they're often called, but if you're not picking up the points on the sort of the matches you should be winning, like Rangers weren't last season, then it doesn't really matter. You need to pick up points consistently in the league, and that's the whole point of the league table. It's the team who was consistently the best across the season. And at the moment, Hearts have been consistently the best team in the Scottish Premiership, and we'll have to see how long that may continue, because I don't think Aberdeen were never ahead of Celtic points-wise last season. I think Celtic were at the top of the league pretty much either behind on goal difference or level on points the whole, or top of the league on points the whole duration of the season. So that's already a change from last season, that Hearts have managed to build themselves a little gap ahead of Brendan Rodgers' team, and Derek McInnes will hope to stay there and maybe come the end of October even extend that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the point Graham makes is so good, because people like Devlin and Beningame as well. I mean, I think Beningame is potentially one of the best midfielders in Scotland. The big problem for Beningame has always been he's been injured quite a lot. I think that's been the biggest thing for him.
Yeah, exactly that. And it's a player that I almost forgot about when he was out for that long period, but he's came back and he's been pretty much an ever present in the Hearts team. But they've got so many good options in the midfield areas. They've got so many good options across the squad, so much versatility. Derek McInnes can choose what he wants to do, can change the formation. He's not a manager that's really like a Russell Martin, perfect example, who's strict to the one setup and one way of playing. He'll change it based on the opposition because he's got the players there to do that and puts them in a really good position. He's been backed massively, as we know, but so have other teams in the league. Don't get it twisted. Rangers backed massively. Celtic, although the fans will debate and quite rightfully so whether the signings were right or leaving it too late and whatever, still massive financial investment compared to Hearts put into Celtic. Even Aberdeen and Hibs invested a lot as well. So doesn't mean guaranteed success. You need to recruit properly. You need to bring in the right manager. You need to bring in the right players. And so far, it looks like that's exactly what Hearts have done.
And I think that's a great point by Robbie. Hopefully he's not going to Del Boy for only fools and horses. I think he's talking about Derek from the Jambles, I think. But I think that's a good point because I think if you speak to Rangers fans, they talk about Steven Gerrard or Muscat and that. And I think those are really good names, but sometimes it's better to go close to home. I don't know. Only Rangers fans can answer this question to me, but maybe it's because he turned them down before when he was at Aberdeen because he's seen the lack of investment from Rangers back in those days under Dave King before. He wasn't blown away by what he was doing, but I think Derek would have been a great choice for Rangers.
Yeah, he definitely could have been, and he was available. Rangers chose, the 49ers had their man. They wanted Russell Martin, and it seems to have backfired already. I know he got the win at the weekend, but I think the thoughts in the Rangers fans' mind are still very much of the same idea that Russell Martin is not fit to be the Rangers manager, and the results so far would definitely suggest that. Although as we'll get onto, he's bought himself a lot of time with that result of the weekend. And yeah, I see Graham's making the point there that Agu, the Brazilian, hasn't even really featured that much. He's come on and had a few cameo appearances, but that's another player that you're adding to the mix. They've just got so much talent and versatility as well across that squad. And yeah, I can't remember since being a football fan, Hearts ever having a better squad than this. And I think you could maybe even say the same for, possibly you could say the same for maybe like a Hibs as well. I can't remember. Someone could correct me maybe. And I know Hibs have dropped more points than they would like, but I would say the same for them. But it shows that it isn't as easy as it always makes out, because Hibs are obviously quite a distance behind Hearts. I know they're in the upper echelon of the table still, but they've dropped more points than I think the Hibs fans would like. But a good result at the weekend at Celtic Park, and they'll take that confidence into the derby, and it'll be a really interesting watch on Saturday evening.
See, just finally on this match, I'm interested about Falkirk because I don't think they're actually playing that bad. I just think sometimes they're all about lack of inexperience maybe, and maybe too many players that have played in the championship. No disrespect to them, but I just think that is. But I think they're still playing some cracking football as well, and I think definitely they're playing next weekend against Rangers, and I think they'll try and play to their strengths. They'll try and play football, and I think it'll suit them. Definitely on the evidence of what we've seen of Rangers yesterday.
Yeah, it's been a difficult start for Falkirk, and I think the way John McGlynn wants to play that expansive brand of football that has done him so well in the past, getting up through the League One and the Championship, and he wants to stick with that. And he has carried a lot of players through from Championship, League One. He didn't bring in a lot of players, a lot of late loan signings that have sort of made their way into the starting 11. But it's always going to be difficult for a newly promoted team. They're finding their feet, but it's not the worst start to a season ever. 5 points in 6 games, it's not ideal, but they're still 4 points clear of Aberdeen. They've got a game in hand on a couple of the teams ahead of them. So it's not the worst scenario for John McGlynn. It's not panic stations yet, but they do probably need a win soon. I know they won at Pittodrie, but at the moment, I don't think that really says much about Falkirk because I think beating Aberdeen isn't really an achievement at this point. But yeah, a little bit of worry, I would think, for the Falkirk fans. But as a newly promoted team, you've got to expect that you're going to struggle and have to find your feet in the league. And as I said, not the worst start. They've been very entertaining. 19 goals in their 6 games so far, which is quite a lot. I think it sets them definitely in the top half of entertaining games. So yeah.
I think just finally on these two clubs, I cannot wait for this game on Saturday night. You usually I'm a big party goer on Saturday night, but I'll be sitting on the sofa watching this game.
Yeah, definitely. It's one not to miss because even though Hearts will be big favourites, Hibs, there's no reason why Hibs can't turn up and get a surprise result because they've got quality, immense quality in that team as well. If I had to put an early prediction, I would go with Hearts because they're the more formed team. They're on such high confidence, but I wouldn't be surprised if Hibs cause an upset, and that's something that's really good for our league. That even though Hibs have started the season quite not poorly, because they were good in Europe and they've done okay in the league, they're still in the upper sort of sector of the league. They'd want to be close to Hearts, of course, as their rivals, and they can be if they get a win. Tynecastle is, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
So, yeah, it would be a massive result for David Gray, and it's one that could happen, but I do fancy the Jambos to continue their winning streak.
Yeah, I think it's credit to Hearts that they've managed to put themselves in this place, and also it's just great to see that match being televised.
Exactly that. It's got to be televised.
But by Premier Sports, because over the past 4 or 5 years, we've missed these matches on telly.
Yeah, exactly. The biggest game of the weekend, without doubt, and yeah, that'll be I think everybody's choice of televised game. So yeah, it's good that that's on the Saturday evening kickoff, and hopefully the game turns out as sort of promising as the build up is for it.
Yep. Next we should move on to the Tony Macaroni Stadium yesterday, and that was a great game. So the scoreline for anyone that has been not aware, it was David Martindale's Livingston 1, Rangers 2, and it was from a last-minute goal from Max Aarons. He scored in 90 plus 5 minutes to rescue all 3 points for Rangers.
Yeah, and relief is the word that comes to mind for Russell Martin. You've seen him celebrating in the dugout or in his technical area because it's a massive 3 points for Rangers and for his future at the club. And we don't know. You can only think. The last 2 weekends they've been in domestic action. I predicted them to fail to win and Russell Martin to relieve these duties, in both of them he's came through. So credit to him. A massive week for him. He's bought himself probably a lot of time now. And yeah, the Rangers on merit of performance in the first half. They probably should have had the game wrapped up. James Tavernier opened the score. It was a really nice goal. Zedi Gassama switches it to Oliver Antman, who does really well to find it back into the area, and James Tavernier has taken up the role as a striker, as he often does at Rangers, to get them the goal. And it was a really nice finish from him, actually. And then Rangers get a penalty, a really sort of silly bit of play from Stevie May, pulls down, I think it was Nico Raskin, I'm not 100% sure, from a corner. And pretty, I mean, you could say it's a soft penalty, but you could see he's tugging at his shirt, so I can understand why they gave that one. James Tavernier steps up. You expect him to score, but it's really well saved by Jerome Pryor. He goes down the middle, but James Tavernier doesn't lift it enough, and he catches it with his legs. Or he doesn't catch it with his legs. He saves it with his legs. And then maybe thought, oh, Livingston going to take confidence from that and come back into the game. Rangers still had chances after that. Derek Cornelius thought he had scored his first Rangers goal. And I think that's two goals he's had ruled out now since he's been at Rangers already, because I think he scored the one against Hearts. But it did hit his hand, and as we know, regardless of where your hand is, what your hand's doing, if you're the goal scorer and it hits your hand, like it did for Callum McGregor on the opening day of the season against Mirren, the goal was disallowed, and it was. And then the second half, Rangers weren't very good. They allowed Livingston back into the game. Livingston probably had the better chances right at the start of the match, but it was mostly Rangers after that. And then Livingston get a goal. Really good header from Mo Salah. I think that might be his first goal for Livingston. I'm going to double check. His first goal for Livingston.
It was a great ball. It was a great ball in by Smith as well.
Yeah, it was. Lewis Smith started the season pretty well. I don't know if this is right, but apparently Mo Salah didn't score a goal for Dundee, so it's his first goal in Scottish football, I believe, which is quite a strange start for someone who's played over 75 matches. But there you go. And then looked like for quite a while Rangers were going to have to settle for another point. And yeah, the fans weren't very happy. The chants were the ones they have been about Russell Martin letting their thoughts known. Obviously, although it was a home game for Livingston, free stands were Rangers fans, and on entry to the stadium, Russell Martin was booed by Rangers fans getting off the team bus. So really showing that they don't have a lot of approval for their manager. And then, but he did, one of his substitutes did get the job done. Brings Max Aarons on. It's a really nice finish from him. A massive moment for him because he's been under a lot of criticism as well since coming in. And yeah, with some of the fans were obviously ecstatic to get that late winner. Some of them on the pitch, which I think is a wee bit over the top. But
yeah, I've got to say fair play to Max Aarons, because when they brought him on about 10 minutes ago, I was thinking this could cost him his job, because Max Aarons has been kind of lax and daisical, and he's done chasing the ball and stuff like that so far. So I think fair play to Russell Martin, and sometimes you just give the guy credit. I mean, he's got back-to-back wins in Scotland so far for him, but it was so important to get that win, because I don't think Rangers supporters, especially with Celtic dropping points the day before, I don't think Rangers fans were legislated for that.
No, exactly. They needed to win that game. Russell Martin needed to win that game, and they did win it, and it buys him a lot of time, you've got to say. I don't know if there's an agreement between himself and Patrick Stewart or Kevin Farewell that gives them a certain amount of games at the start of the tenure. Maybe they've said you'll get X amount of games regardless of how it goes. But obviously wins can only help. And although I think, as I mentioned earlier, I think the fans still feel the same way, the majority of them, that Russell Martin should be the Rangers manager. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if he keeps getting results, especially domestically, then he's going to be in the job. And yeah, massive result for him. And I think the thing that said it all really was that when I was listening to Clyde Super Scoreboard, there was a Rangers fan on the phone to the panel while the winner went in, and they asked him, how do you feel? And he went, don't really feel anything. I don't feel any different about it, and I think that's the state a lot of Rangers fans have got to, at the point that although they've won the match, they now have gives more incentive for the club to keep Russell Martin. So in the long run, does that negatively affect Rangers? So they're put in a really difficult place, Rangers fans. As long as they keep winning games, Russell Martin keeps winning games, he'll keep his job, and he'll get more and more Rangers fans on side, because he's made it through a tough period, and now there's no reason why he can't do that. I don't think he will. I think I don't think Russell Martin was the right appointment. I said at the time that he might have been, but it seems like he's not, and I think he will lose his job quite soon, possibly. I don't know when, but I just don't think it'll work this season.
Do you think the Rangers fans are being too knee-jerk, or do you think genuinely that he should be sacked? Because I was thinking about it the other day. I was thinking, is it just because these fans didn't want him in the job? Say this was Gerrard right now. And Gerrard was 7 points behind, and Gerrard got them through 2 qualifiers. Do you think the vitriol would still be the same?
I don't think it would be. I think you're quite right to make that point, but I just think that Rangers have started the season so poorly in the league that you could make the case that he deserves to go, because this is a start that we've barely ever seen from Rangers ever. And I said, the first time I said that I thought he would be sacked was if he didn't manage to beat Hibs last week. He obviously got through that. Then I said this week, if he didn't beat Livingston after the result, and the performance wasn't too bad during the week, but the result at home to start the Europa League campaign, then he would lose his job after Livingston. But he's pulled through both challenges, and now he'll be carrying a little bit of confidence that he can get the results needed in domestic football, and maybe that'll sort of pour onto the players. But I still can't see him.
Do you think he is? Sorry, I'm just going to say, do you think he is potentially just one match away? Or do you think
I don't think he is anymore. I think he was, but I don't think he, because he's got back-to-back wins domestically. I think he's bought a little bit of credit, not with the fans at all. But
but I'm just saying, for instance, right? Say for instance, they draw 2-2 with Falkirk next weekend. Do you think something happens?
No. I think
there?
I think he would still keep his job. Yeah, I think
because what I was thinking, sorry, is they've after the Falkirk match, they'll then get 2 weeks because Scotland are playing.
Yeah, well, possibly. I just think that they've decided to go with him, but I just don't think they're going to go back on it so quickly. And I know the Rangers fans want them to, but the Russell Martin's the man they picked out. They've brought in a lot of players, spending a lot of money to support him. I don't think they're going to rip it up this early. And if he's just getting the results at the right time. The Celtic, the performance against Celtic, although it wasn't great, it was something, came at a right time. The win against Hibs came at a right time. The win against Livingston came at a right time. He's just getting past the post, I think. I would be very surprised. I mean, I'm not going to wish a downfall on anyone in football, but I'd be really surprised if Russell Martin can turn this into a successful season or a successful manager stint for Rangers. I hope for him personally he can do, but I just can't see it. But I think he has bought himself a lot of credit with the results, but it's still going to be a massive few weeks and months for him if he's to turn around the Rangers fans' fault, because this is the start to the season that the Rangers fans will remember for a while. Even if they, I don't know, win every game in the Europa League phase, they go and win the League Cup, for example, there'll still be a jury out on whether Russell Martin's fit to be the Rangers manager, just because you are going to imagine that he is still going to be behind Hearts and Celtic, especially for quite a while in the league. And obviously the league's the bread and butter, and it's where Rangers have struggled the most over the last number of years, apart from obviously that season they went invincible under Steven Gerrard.
see in terms of you, Ethan, is there any way that you can see this eventually turning around? I mean, what's Russell Martin got to do?
I just don't. I don't think he can. And I don't think it's. I just don't believe that the Rangers players really believe in Russell Martin and believe in what he's trying to do.
I think genuinely, Ethan, the only way that they potentially get back on side is if Rangers win that Premier Sports Trophy.
Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah.
That for me is the only way that Russell Martin will survive. But then the other question is, how long does he get?
Yeah.
Does he get the Celtic game?
Yeah, that is a big question. And yeah, I can't see him turning it round just because I think once you've lost the dressing room, and once the players don't really believe in what you're doing, that is very difficult to turn it round. I'm not saying he can't do it, but I just think it's a very, very tall order for him. And I think it's a massive uphill battle, if I'm being honest. But there's no reason. He's got the players there, so the players are capable to go out and win every game in the league, even against Celtic. Celtic are no great shakes this season, as we know. Hearts have looked really good, but even still, Rangers have got massive players compared to Hearts that are on much bigger wages that cost a lot more money. They've just brought in a striker for £8 to £10 million. They've got a squad there to go and win league games on a regular basis, but they're not doing it. But they have, of course, won back-to-back domestic matches now, and Russell Martin will carry that confidence into the next one. And if he can start getting results in Europe, heading to Austria on Thursday, even a draw, depending on the performance, might be a decent result and a step in the right direction. And that's what Rangers fans need to see. They need to see progress. Hibs game was progress. Genk was a step backwards. Livingston was another sort of step forwards, because although they won the game in dramatic fashion, late winner and all that stuff, they should really have been out of sight in the first half, to be honest. So it has steps in the right direction for Russell Martin, but he has still got a long, long way to go to convince Rangers fans that he's the man to take them forward.
I was talking to a friend yesterday, and he said to me, it's not the away games that actually make him worried. It's the home games, because there seems to be a real negativity around the home matches at Ibrox.
Yeah, and of course there would be, and yeah, I think it's so difficult. I mean, the fans are so against, and of course the fans, I think, you speak to a lot of them, they want to see Rangers succeed. Of course they do, and if Russell Martin's the man to take them forward, then brilliant. If he's the man to bring them a league title, then brilliant. I'm sure a lot of the fans would be happy with that, but they just don't believe that he is, and based off what they've seen so far, you can't really argue with that, although he is making slow steps towards getting results that he should be getting at Rangers Football Club. And he put the result against Genk down to losing a man and being down to 10 men for a lot of the game when Mohamed Diamande was sent off towards the end of the first half. But yeah, I think it's a bit of an excuse, that, because I don't think Rangers were very good before that, and Genk probably could have been on the easy street if O had been a little bit more clinical.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've got two results, and back to that, as I keep saying, wins and back-to-back results in domestic football is only a good thing for Russell Martin, and only buys him more time to take Rangers forward.
And don't forget, we'll be back on Thursday to talk you through the Rangers match in Europe. I'm not so sure about the Celtic game, because that game is at 5:45, and I'm going to be at that match for the show, so it'll be interesting, that match against Braga. But I think the Rangers game is 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock start. I think it is, Ethan.
Yeah, 8 o'clock, I believe, in Austria. So yeah, that'll be difficult to do a pre-show very early. You'd have to do a pre-show for that one, for the Celtic game, with the time it kicks off. But I'm sure we'll probably be able to set up some sort of post-match show after the Rangers game to talk about both games. Obviously, two massive matches for both teams to for Celtic to get another positive result. I think that would be a win for Rangers. A positive result, a point away from home in Europe, usually always a good result when you're in the Europa League and Champions League league phases or group stages as they were formerly known.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about Celtic on Saturday, because I was there on Saturday. Finn. I was interested because I thought Celtic played well first half, but second half, it kind of slowed up. But I've got one thing that really, really surprised me, right? And that was Celtic were playing really well. Ian Nacho was playing really well for Celtic as a striker. He takes Ian Nacho off, puts Maeda through the middle, and then 3 minutes later he takes Maeda off and puts on Johnny Kenny.
Yeah, no, I think it's got to be minutes and fitness related issues with Kelechi and Nacho, because I don't imagine he's played a full 90 minutes for quite a while now, and I think that's why. Although he played well, and if he had been a little bit sharper, Kelechi and Nacho, he probably gets a few goals.
I think especially the first one in the first half, it was a great ball across for anyone who didn't see it. And all he has to do is poke his leg at it, Ethan.
Yeah, I think that's one that if he's on, he's really at the top of his game, and he hasn't been for a while, and that's probably why he's at Celtic and not in the Premier League or whatever, because he's shown in the past he is a very good footballer. And Brendan, as I think I mentioned previously, I think Brendan Rodgers believes he's going to be able to get the best out of him again at Celtic, and he's shown already real highlights that he has still got that quality within him. And I think he's obviously going to lack that sort of top match sharpness without playing too many games. Brendan Rodgers keeps throwing them in and giving them up minutes and opportunities to get up to speed. And yeah, but I think that's why he comes off, because he's not really, you don't want to overplay him, and then he gets an injury, and then you've not got him to play with. So you've got to manage these players, and I think that's why he brought him off. It was a little bit strange that he obviously made the substitution to bring Johnny Kenny on just 5 minutes after he'd made the one where he took Kelechi and Nacho off. But I think, as you said, I think Celtic were, funnily enough, I think that was one of Celtic's best performances of the season. And I know the standard for that isn't very high at the moment with how Celtic have started the season. I believe they've scored something like less than half of the goals they had scored by this point last season, which is a ridiculous stat. It shows how much they've been struggling in front of goal. Defensively, they've been pretty solid. We've kept clean sheets in most of their matches this season. Let me think. The only three matches they haven't kept a clean sheet, but they've kept clean sheets in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 matches. So 75% of their matches, I think, they've kept clean sheets this season. So defensively, it's not been an issue really, and they dominated Hibs for most of the match. Hibs had a few sort of sniffs at goal, but I don't think Hibs really looked like scoring. It was more Hibs defended well, they set up well. Celtic did have a lot of clear-cut chances. They probably should have scored a goal. I think they had 3 expected goals from the match, so they really should have scored, but they couldn't find the target. They miss out, and I think this is one that if it was any other point in any other season with Celtic and they were playing really well and they were blowing teams away and a result like this came along, then everyone would kind of go, well, we can't win every game, this sort of stuff happens. But I think it gets a little bit more of a reaction because the way Celtic have started the season. But I do believe I see progress in Celtic, as I think I've said before, by game to game. And yeah, I think they're, as I mentioned, I think they're getting better by the game.
Yeah, I think McGregor had a few shots in the first half as well. He had a few chances to really stamp his authority on the match. But I think it just shows you as well that when you go from a Kyogo to a Maeda through the middle, or you go from a Nicholas to a Balaklisha, I'm yet to see anything from from Balaklisha that excites me. Though there was one point during, I think it was 88 minutes, where everybody was screaming for him to get the ball in the box, and he was just standing there with the half defender doing me tricks.
Yeah, he
I'm
didn't look great when he
ball
came
in the
on.
box.
He didn't look great when he came on at all, Michelangelo Belisha, and he hasn't looked great. And it'll be a worry for Celtic fans, but I think
I think Brendan Rodgers said last Friday, but sorry to jump in.
no, not at all.
Brendan Rodgers said last Friday, oh, he's still going to work, he's got to play in his best position and stuff like that. But you know how, like, with like Jota or Paddy Roberts or Kaneki, for example, you actually seen something in the player. I just don't see anything in this guy so far.
Yeah, that is a good point, and I think Brendan Rodgers was making the point that unlike Sebastian Tenecte, who was okay again at the weekend, it wasn't his best game for Celtic, but the 4 performances have definitely been promising so far. Obviously, the first 2 he picked up man of the match. I think Brendan Rodgers was saying along the lines that he hasn't settled in as well, and sometimes that happens, moving to a new country, stuff like that, and not every player hits the ground running. All you have to do is look at Nicholas Kuhn. When he came to Celtic, he didn't look really up to much, and then obviously he has a brilliant, not even full season really. It was excellent for the first half of last season, and then following that game when he scored that famous goal at the Allianz Arena, he sort of fell off a bit. Celtic still get a massive ton of profit for him, and yeah, there's no reason why that can't happen again when Michelangelo Belisha. He obviously just needs to get the opportunities, and there will be games where Brendan Rodgers will rotate the team and give him the chance, you would imagine. But I think that'll be the front three for Celtic going forward. Sebastian Tenecte on the left, he's nailed down that spot. Kelechi Iheanacho through the middle, and Dyson Maid on the right. I think that'll be that's the first time he's tried that. Dyson Maid on the right, we were a little bit unsure about because obviously his best position is on the left. But I think that'll be the team that he starts with to face Braga on Thursday. He did obviously shuffle the midfield as well, which a lot of Celtic fans were calling for. Benjamin Negrin and Rio Hatate dropped out. Rio Hatate believed to have an injury. I don't think it's too serious, but I don't know if he'll be available for the game on Thursday. I think we'll find out pretty soon anyway. And Luke McKeown and Arne Engels came in. I thought Luke McKeown was really positive, especially in the first half. He had some good moments. Arne Engels, again, wasn't his best game, and he's just not having a great time of it at the moment at Celtic. And yeah, I
think maybe the negativity around him has been too much. Because see, if he was brought in for like £4 million, nothing would have been said about him. It's all because of this £11 million. And you know what I want to talk about Ethan Wright, because people are annoying me about this, and they're saying Brendan Rodgers spent £11 million. Now, Brendan Rodgers, if you look back at his press conference, Brendan Rodgers said about 2 or 3 weeks ago, Arne Engels wasn't brought in by me. Arne Engels was identified by the recruitment team. So everybody that keeps going on about Brendan Rodgers identified him as a player he wanted in. No, Brendan Rodgers, no. The Celtic recruitment team identified him and told Rodgers, "Do you want this player?" And he said, "Okay." You know,
that's how it works. I
mean, people are saying that Brendan Rodgers identified this player and Brendan Rodgers paid all this money. I mean, I don't think it was Brendan Rodgers that personally said we need to buy this guy. What I've been told by people in the know basically was that after they sold Matt O'Reilly to Brighton, Celtic have got a list of players, and basically because of data, because Celtic are using data now, Arne Engels was top of the data list, and this was something that the recruitment team were pushing for. So I think this myth that Brendan Rodgers is not trusted with money. I've heard that that's in the media so many times, that Brendan Rodgers shouldn't be trusted with money because they brought in Arne Engels. I mean, Brendan Rodgers has told you constantly that he doesn't bring in the players. So what? And Brendan Rodgers told you last year that he didn't bring in the players, but that he's just there to coach the players. But because Celtic spend big money, people are thinking it's because of Brendan Rodgers.
Yeah, I think the thing is at Celtic, the scouting team obviously know what Brendan sort of profile that Brendan Rodgers wants in a player. They go and look for that. They say, Brendan Rodgers, look, we got this guy. You want him? Do you think we should go for him? And then that's, I think, I'd imagine how it works. And
Yeah, but
I think the problem has been that they've not brought enough players to Brendan Rodgers, and that's why he's got so frustrated. They've also brought in players that he's not really his players, club signings, I think we call them. Your likes of your Hayato Inamuras, your Shin Yamadas, stuff like that. But yeah, I just think Arnie Engels, he wasn't the best at the weekend. Wasn't the worst. He just sort of had an okay game, and then
but my point is, Ethan, if that's a player that's brought in for three or £4 million, people are not then saying Brendan Rodgers cannot be trusted. They're then going, it's okay, but because Celtic is a club of being maintaining their money, and because he's the biggest amount of money they're spending on a player, because that then gets labelled as Brendan Rodgers. And Brendan Rodgers has constantly told people, look, this was one that was identified by the board and by the recruitment team.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I'd completely agree with that. I don't think he would be under the same scrutiny if he was a sort of 5 million pound signing. Obviously, as the record transfer fee for Celtic, he comes with a big expectation, which, and to start his career at Celtic, he possibly lived up to, but now he's sort of fell away a little bit, and he's not even in the starting 11, of course. And then in the fullbacks areas, he switched them out as well, which you would expect. Kieran Tierney played a lot of games, played 80 minutes during the week as well, after playing 90 minutes at Firhill. So, yeah, you expected that. Marcelo Sarachi came in. I thought he looked excellent as well.
Hey, that's good.
I thought he was one of Celtic's best players. And then at right back, he brings Anthony Ralston in, who I thought had an okay game. His crossing could have been better. There was a few times he hit the defender, but I think Brendan Rodgers was saying that he was rotating Kobe Donovan out because he'd played a lot of games, and you've got to look after a player like that because he's playing an intensity of football that he probably hasn't played before with the B team. So he's looking after Kobe Donovan. I do think Kobe Donovan will probably come back into the team for Thursday, and I think Kieran Tierney will come back into the team for Thursday. But it'll be interesting to see who possibly partners Callum McGregor in that midfield. I think Benjamin Negrin will come back in, but it'll be interesting to see who's alongside him. But I do believe the back four and the front three is fairly standard.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to mention about David Gray, because David Gray's done a fantastic job with Hibs.
Yeah, exactly that. And they set up, and a lot of people would have been sort of doubting Hibs to their capabilities to come to Celtic Park and get a result. But they obviously put in a really solid defensive performance. And although they probably got off the hook and didn't really deserve to get much from the game, they did. Raphael Salinger, who's come in the last few games, a brilliant, well, not a brilliant, a good performance from him. I don't remember him making too many excellent saves, but keeping a clean sheet at Celtic Park, you've obviously done something right. Same with the defence. And yeah, Hibs, that'll give them a lot of confidence going into the derby, as we mentioned earlier. And they're in a decent position in the league. I know they're down in sixth, but they're only a point off third. 8 points behind Hearts, 6 behind Celtic. So it would be massive if they could win at Tynecastle and close the gap to their rivals. Yeah, that would be their first priority at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to have you on, Robbie. Thanks for joining us.
No, it's good to be on. How are we doing?
Doing well. I was just talking to Ethan there about the Celtic match on Saturday. I think they were about I think it was probably the best showing so far this season, but I don't know how much you saw of the game.
No, I've not seen much, to be honest with you, just gone off of pure stats alone. I mean, a couple of my Celtic mates said you didn't look very good. You know, based on the stats, I'd probably disagree with that. Of course, I didn't watch the game, but any team that's hitting 26 shots over the course of 90 minutes has probably been dominant one way or another. So I suppose for Celtic fans, I don't think they're going to be too disappointed. I mean, of course, you didn't win the game, that's obviously disappointing, but putting in a performance like that against a Hibs team that have picked up some good results, obviously pretty poor defensively, which is probably another disappointment. But overall, I don't think you can complain too much about it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the phrase would probably be disappointing result, but not a worrying result, because I think you would be worrying if it was nothing each. And like Celtic in a lot of games this season, obviously they've had a lot of nothing eaches and one eaches with reference to that game in Belgrade. You would be worrying because Celtic weren't creating chances, but it was just they couldn't really find the back of the net. They had a lot of chances, enough to win that game. Hibs did have one massive chance, I remember. Let me just remind myself who it was. I think it was one of the defenders. I think it might have been Jack Iredale. No, it was Warren O'Hara. Had a massive chance that he probably should have scored, and it looked easier to score than this from a set piece that he sort of put over the bar. But apart from that, Hibs never really threatened Kasper Schmeichel's goal at all. And yeah, Celtic on probably 9 times out of 10 they win that match, but obviously it wasn't to be at the weekend, and it gives Hearts the chance to go to the top on points and allows Rangers back in a little bit. If 7 points is a distance that they think they can close between now and even the end of the season, although we're still got 32 games to play.
I mean, Robbie, obviously we've been on for the last hour talking about the other 3 matches, but is there anything you want to speak about in terms of the 3 matches before we get on to obviously St Mirren?
No, I mean, you spoke about Rangers the first match, am I right? Or was that another match? Oh no, it was Hearts v Falkirk. Another dominating performance for Hearts. I probably about as comfortable a 3-0 as you're going to get. I mean, by the sounds of it, and obviously I know Graham, you'll know more than us, but to me, Falkirk just never laid a glove on Hearts at all over the course of the 90s. So it's a good win for them. But just on Celtic, I mean, it's very easy to be critical of a team when you're Celtic or Rangers when you look at a 0-0 draw. You need to look deeper than that. The difference between Celtic and Rangers for me is Celtic are playing a game like this and hitting 26 shots. Rangers are playing games like this at home against Hearts and only hitting about 10 or 12 shots. I mean, that's not good enough for a team. So to Celtic to still go out and be that dominant and create that many chances, it's as Ethan said earlier, you know, you can take that positive. Of course, there's negatives. You want to win every game, of course. But it's stuff you can build on, you know, that it's not all been plain sailing for Celtic. So that I think they can take that point, move on, and hopefully get a big win in Europe during the week.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you were I think you were the eyes at St Mirren Park on Saturday. I was at Celtic Park on Saturday, so I didn't see much of the game. But talk us through that St Mirren and Dundee game, Robbie.
I put the comment in the chat earlier. It couldn't have been easier. I'll be honest with you. There's been a lot of talk online, a lot of Dundee fans saying that they probably deserve to win. I didn't see the game like that at all, to be honest. I thought we were dominant for the first whistle. I thought the first 15 minutes we took control of the game. I didn't think either team really found their feet, but I thought we done well with the ball. And I'm just looking at that in another season, last season, we probably finished 0-0 in that game, and it's another draw to add to the list. But we found that one chance for Killian Phillips to get us into the lead, and that's all we needed at the end of the day. Dundee, I said this to you yesterday, Regan, Dundee lost a lot with Simon Murray and Jan Danda missing out the team completely. That completely shut down any attacking threat they had. I'm going to be honest, I don't even remember the striker touching the ball, to be completely honest. So they just looked so lacklustre up front. It was interesting to see Stephen Presley for the first time as well. He's a lot taller than I originally thought he was going to be. He's a very aggressive manager as well. He likes to get his point across. And look, I'm not going to completely write off Dundee. I thought, you know, they were decent on the ball. They were composed to try to transition forward. But without that front threat of Simon Murray, you've really just got no chance. I mean, they just look so poor in the attacking area.
I mean, See, in terms of any St Mirren players, who can have stood out for you, Robbie?
Jaden Richardson's probably the big one that stood out for me. I mean, another superb performance. Obviously, had a really, really good performance at Kilmarnock, and we didn't really know how he'd get on up here, considering Aberdeen fans the last time didn't seem too keen on him. But he's just been excellent since he stepped in the door. He's so good attacking wise, not scared to take people on defensively. He's solid as well. Doesn't let many people past him. Again, every week it seems like you can go through the full team. Actually, don't think Jamal George had too much today, but just the defence again. Gogic is so good, and you know when you're playing in a game where you're missing your captain and your vice captain, it can sometimes be tough. But the replacements, Liam Donnelly and Richard King in at the back as well. They just come in. They just look like they've never been away for the squad. Liam Donnelly, I mean, that's him just came back for a couple of months on the injury shelf, and he just looks like a brand new player. It doesn't look like he's been injured. So. Look, it's all positive right now, and I'm just glad we got finally the 3 points at home that we've been needing.
I think the thing for me, Robbie, is I think Stephen Robson's very good at recruiting a number one, because you look at some of his goalkeepers over the past few years. You get Trevor Carson, Zach Hemming, who's really good for Derek McInnes at Kilmarnock, and then you've obviously got Jamal George, who I was really impressed with for a few years at Livingston.
I've always been impressed with Jamal George. I've said it since Livingston to be a goalkeeper I'd like to have. And I'm glad we've got him, to be honest with you. It just makes everything else so confident. You know, I tell you guys all the time, if your defence can trust your goalkeeper and your goalkeeper can trust the defence, your team just instantly improves by a lot. You're seeing that now at Hearts, I believe. Graham, I could be wrong, the new boy, the German goalkeeper, seems to be settling in all right. And, you know, Hearts have got a few talented goalkeepers as well.
And I think that's a good point you made, Robbie, because I think it'll be very hard for Craig Gordon or Xander Clark to get back in, because see, once you take your chances as a goalkeeper, like there's no point trying to upset the squad by taking out the goalkeeper, because you're doing very well.
Aye, and that's what you want. Like, you want a solid goalkeeper in your team. You know, I'm under no illusions. You know, it's not what you want. You don't want to be loaning out a goalkeeper every season like we've done. You know, loaning out Hemming twice and then loaning in Jamal. It's not what you want to be doing every season. Obviously, you want a comfortable number one. I think when obviously Zach wasn't going to come back up the road, it was a real disappointment to us anyway that we weren't going to get him. But to get a keeper that I'd argue is better than Zach Hemming is just amazing, and it shows the work for the recruitment side, and the recruitment has just been amazing. I mean, every player that's come in has done a job. They know what they're there to do. Declan John on the other side, I mentioned Jaden Richardson on the other side. I mean, they've both just been terrific down the wings. And it just looks like a real team. Killian Phillips was speaking after the game, and that's one thing he highlighted. You know, it is such a team, and they've all got such a high spirit. So it's just amazing to see, and hopefully we can keep it going away with Robert Park again next week. I mean, I'm under no illusions that'll be another tough game, but there's no reason why we can't go and pick up points for these places.
Yeah, I was going to ask, Robbie, you've obviously seen more than I have of St Mirren this season, but it would seem like Killian Phillips has been the standout, obviously scored again. 5 goals this season already, more than last season. Do you think Stephen Robinson's sort of deploying him in a different role, or is it just kind of the way that it's worked out that he's found himself in the end of more goals this season?
I think it's probably a mixture of both, to be honest with you. His position doesn't look too dissimilar for last season. It obviously puts a lot of pressure on the wide players of the defence. Whenever you see him play, he's always sort of drifting out left or right, depending on what side he's on. But I just think it depends what characters are in the team. I mean, with Donnelly, he's a bit more defensive, so it allows Phillips to deploy a bit more attacking. And I think you're seeing the benefits for that. Like, I don't know how long we're going to keep a hold of Killian Phillips. That's my only concern now as a St Mirren fan. I'm going to enjoy him as much as possible, because I think we can get a good chunk of money for him, hopefully in the future, because I'd still like maybe another season or two of him. I just think he's been absolutely phenomenal. So I mean, like, he's a player that I think can play multiple positions, and I think Robinson loves that, because it means we can be versatile in the midfield. You know, if we're changing bodies like we had today at the weekend, Donnelly and Adolo come in, then we can do that.
Yeah, exactly that. And St Mirren looking really solid. I think Graham made the point that the only loss that St Mirren have had this season, barring one, did they lose a game in the League Cup on penalties?
Yeah, they've lost to us on penalties.
Apart from that, we'll not take too much sort of value in that, but the only defeat, obviously, that very late goal at Celtic Park on Flag Day. So, yes, Mirren looking really good, third in the league, and yeah, they can stay there if they can keep the results consistent. Two nice fixtures up next. Kilmarnock, obviously, showing that they can go to Rugby Park and win. Then Aberdeen at home looks like the best fixture on the league calendar at the moment. So yeah, Hibs are in Hibs. Mirren are in a really good place.
Big time, and just on Graham's point, by the way, I'm never under the illusion that we're ever going to be challenging as high as second place, and I know that's very unrealistic, but why no challenge for top three? I don't see why that's such an unrealistic ambition. We can beat anyone at home or away. We've proven that, and I know it's been a lot of draws to start the season, but I think, if you look at a percentage now, if you look at a couple of years ago, a win percentage away from home's probably done 30-20%, high 20s, low 30s. Now you're looking at a 44% away win percentage, which is just mind blowing, and a 56% home win ratio as well means that we're balancing the books quite evenly. And if we can keep continuing with that, then I don't see any reason why we couldn't be up in the top 4 or 3.
Exactly. And of course, St Mirren, the only team to beat Hearts this season, aren't they?
As far as I'm aware, aye.
So, of course, on penalties, but still got to take it. Take it with the credit it comes with.
I'm setting this up for Stephen Robinson to leave for the Aberdeen job in a few weeks, and we appoint like Scott Brown, and then form starts fitting a wee bit, and we're back to mid-table. But I'll enjoy this while we've got it.
Yeah, that's always the danger of having a really good manager like Stephen Robinson. For Dundee, I mean, they're all right. They're just okay. They're doing better than what I thought they would be doing 7 games into this Premiership season. But yeah, I'm still not going to say that they're safe for relegation yet. But they're not. I mean, they're 5 points clear Aberdeen, and you do imagine Aberdeen are going to get their act together, whether that is under Jimmy Thleen or Stephen Robinson or someone else. But yeah, Dundee, they've been okay. They obviously got a win last week against Levy, which was a massive, massive result for them. They've got Aberdeen next, so you never know what they could do at Pittodrie under Stephen Presley. But I think for the squad that Dundee actually have, I think Stephen Presley's done quite a decent job so far, because I do think that squad is pretty poor by Scottish Premiership standards.
I think when you look at the first team compared to the bench, and obviously they're missing a few key players, they're a very small squad, even, and I don't mean that in terms of squad size. I mean that in terms of their actual height. Like they're quite a small squad to work with. I mean, in this league, I feel like you always need a bit of physicality, and I think a couple players in the squad do give that. But overall, they are a pretty small squad to handle. I mean, they used their pace to the advantage against us. They created a few openings. Nothing. I don't think they ever had anything that they should be scoring, or anything like that. But they did create a few half openings. Obviously, when you've got Simon Murray and Billy Kumetto came off of the bench, he's a very tall player and physical. But overall, they're no giants. They're no big physical guys. They're just guys that have come up for England. They've got a wee bit of technical ability. Presley's trying to get the best out of them, and I think you're right. They've over exceeded expectations already, and I don't know fancy Dundee to be above in the drop zone. Sorry, I think they might just scramble to survive.
Quite possibly. I think the one player who's really impressed me from Dundee is Cameron Congreve. I don't know how good he was at the weekend, but he had 3 assists in his last 2 games, so he's looked quite like a good signing on loan from Swansea, I believe it is. So he looks like an exciting player and one that can give Dundee fans hope.
Yeah, and obviously, guys, I'm just going to say there that we should probably move on to Aberdeen's bad night in Motherwell.
Yes.
Sorry, if I can just quickly answer Graham's question. There is a threat, and we'll just need to see how it goes. But Reagan, you're right. I mean, I managed to watch the second half of the game. I mean, even how do you even start summing that up for Aberdeen?
Don't know. I think that just sums it all up. yeah, just a terrible goal to lose in the 92nd minute. Katrombis, that's a shot that's pretty much a pass back for Dimitar Mitov, and he lets it through him. Yeah, really, really poor from Dimitar Mitov, and it just sums Aberdeen up at the moment. Still haven't managed a goal in the Premiership.
I think they probably should have had a penalty in Aberdeen.
I haven't actually seen that yet. Quite possibly.
Yeah, there was one I seen, Robbie, that I felt Aberdeen should have had a penalty.
I think I might have seen that now.
Still don't mind the one you're talking about, but I mean, look, with the attacking threat that Aberdeen have at their disposal, there's no reason why they shouldn't have yet scored a goal in the league. I mean, there's some real quality players up there. I've heard a lot of Aberdeen fans say Carlson doesn't look bothered. He looks like he just came for the paycheck. And look, I didn't watch the full game, so I can't say that or no.
I was just going to say, Robbie, sorry, but surely the players, they must have a newfound respect for Jimmy Tilleen after the winning the trophy with the guy. Surely they can't just be down in tools.
The thing is, though, we say this all the time, Reagan, losing's a habit. It's once you get under that losing. And by the way, this isn't new for Aberdeen, but what we're forgetting this, the cup win overshadows everything. Aberdeen have had a poor league record since about midway through last season. This isn't new to us. This is just the way it's been in the league for Aberdeen. They really didn't accept the league from it.
I think Graham makes a good point. I mean, that victory in the cup, I think that's just papered over the cracks.
Quite possibly, yeah. Quite possibly, because I think the stat I heard the other day might be wrong, but I think it was Aberdeen have won like 4 games under Jimmy Tilleen in 2025 or something ridiculous like that. Let me just double check.
I know the guy won a trophy, Robbie, but how long can you really go on? I mean, say Stephen Robinson, right? Say he won you the Premier Sports Trophy in Christmas time, right? Say he wins that, right? But then he goes on to lose his next 10 or 12 matches. I'm sure you can thank Stephen Robinson, but I'm sure you can say to yourself, look, if he's going to lose like 10, 12 matches, then he surely has to go. I mean, how much kind of credit in the bank should he really be getting, Robbie?
I think, that we need to see where we are at that point, because, if we're pretty much safe for getting relegated, then I wouldn't care if we lost every match for the rest of the season. If it meant we were going to stay in the league, I'd celebrate the cup win. But for Jimmy Tilleen, it's different. Even I don't know if you've got that stat. I believe I read somewhere it was like 5 wins in 33 matches.
5 league wins in 2025.
I mean, that's just atrocious.
Yeah, that's terrible. And I think the Scottish Cup win very much is papering over the cracks. If Jimmy Tilleen hadn't helped Aberdeen lift the Scottish Cup for the first time in 30 years, then I don't think he would still be the Aberdeen manager. He's obviously got massive credit in the back because of that, but they just can't find the back of the net at the end of the day. As Graham's just put in, that is the worrying thing. I spoke earlier about Celtic fans probably aren't worried after the performance at the weekend because they created lots of chances. Aberdeen, in all fairness, they are creating a decent amount of chances. They're just not clinical or at all. They just can't score. A bit like Aston Villa were in the English equivalent, but obviously Aston Villa won at the weekend, so maybe there is a sort of a good page to turn on to for Aberdeen, but yeah, it's not looking really bright at the minute. 4 points at the bottom of the league without managing to score a goal is really concerning for especially the squad that they've got and how much Jimmy Tilleen's been backed in the summer.
Even there's a really good player for Shakhtar Donetsk, and cautious, they just won 4-0 yesterday, so they're scoring a lot of goals right now. There's a player called, I can't remember his first name, is it Isaac Traore? A really, really pacey forward for Shakhtar. I've not seen too much of him, but I know a bit.
Lassina Traore, yeah.
These players must be roaring to play Aberdeen midweek. I mean, they must be buzzing to play Aberdeen, because Aberdeen might genuinely take a battering in this game.
Yeah, they very, very well could do. Shakhtar Donetsk, top of Ukrainian league. Very big name in European football, obviously associated more with being in the Champions League in recent seasons, not being there as much. But yeah, they'll be massive favourites going to Pittodrie. But these are the type of things that can sort of spark a change for Aberdeen. If they put in a really good performance, get a really good result against Shakhtar, then maybe the players feel all up for it and the fans are back on side and stuff like that. Because I don't think the relationship between Jeremy Tulane and Aberdeen fans is anywhere close to that of the Rangers fans and Russell Martin. It's nowhere near the same. If Jeremy Tulane can even get a couple wins or back-to-back under his belt, then I think the Aberdeen fans will believe in him and the players, because they've got so many good players in that squad as well. That's why it's so hard to understand why it's just not going right for them. And I don't know how long Jeremy Tulane's going to get to turn it around, because 3 terrible defeats in a row now in the League Cup, and then at Tannadice during the week, I can't remember what day it was, and then obviously losing to Motherwell when they were so close to getting a point as well, which would have been decent. Motherwell would have continued their streak in the league, but they handed that fortunate goal, and then they obviously get the penalty through Stamatolopoulos, a goal that he probably needed, because he's not really been hitting the heights for Motherwell so far this season.
Ethan, what's the difference for you, right? And all you hear now at Rangers is the relationship with Martin and the fans is completely broken, and everybody always says once the fans are broken with the manager, there's never any coming back for that. You've pretty much lost everything there is to lose. So, in your opinion, what do you think is different between that and this situation? Do you think there's any way back for Tulane with the fans? Is that cup win maybe just buying him a bit more time?
Well, I think there is definitely a way back, because he's handed Aberdeen fans their best moment in years, and he also showed at the start of last season he is capable of leading a team in a great run of games. And I know that obviously collapsed, and now we're talking about 5 wins in however many games, 5 league wins in 2025. But I think it would even take like a win or 2. And I think the Aberdeen fans would think that Jeremy Tulane could turn it around, whereas with Russell Martin, he's not got any credit in the bank at all. A lot of Rangers fans didn't want him to start with, as we know. So I think it is slightly different, but it'll be interesting to see who's maybe first to be relieved of their duties, because you'd have to probably say Jeremy Tulane's the favourite at the minute.
Yeah, and I think in general, I think the whole vibe around Aberdeen, I don't think it's great at the moment.
No, it's not. It's not.
I mean, they've got great players in, like you said. Sokla, Nisbet, Stuart Armstrong can still do well in Scotland as well. So
it is mental what a Celtic 6-0 hammering can do for you as a club. I mean, since that game, and I know they went on to win the cup and this and that, but since that game, Aberdeen have never really been the same. Since that hammering, and it just shows you what that can do to a squad mentally.
Yep, exactly that. But a lot of credit's got to go to Motherwell as well. So obviously spoke about Aberdeen a lot, rightfully so, but credit to them. Back-to-back wins against the Dons, the first in the league. A long time coming. They probably should be another 4th in the league, and a really good start for them, because a lot of people didn't really fancy Jens Berthel-Askew and his style of football to do well in Scotland after the League Cup group stages, which weren't all that convincing. But yeah, Motherwell have looked really good. Finally get that win that they've been needing in the league, and now they'll feel they can kick on and compete with St Mirren possibly for third before and after they meet in the League Cup semi, which will be a really interesting one and a really interesting game that I'm certainly looking forward to next Sunday is Motherwell v Celtic, because we haven't seen obviously Jens Berthel-Askew's style of play against the champions, so that'll be really interesting to see how that goes.
Do you think Motherwell can really go to Celtic Park and try and play football, guys, or do you think they'll actually?
Well, I hope Motherwell go to Celtic Park, try and play football and get beat 6-0, so the morale's low for the semi. But no, I do think Jens will not care where he's gone. They'll want to go and set up the same way. I can guarantee they will try and play the same way. Of course, naturally at Celtic Park, you're going to be a bit more defensively aware because the calibre of players you're facing. But why should Motherwell let that stop them? Why should they let that care? There's obviously going to be 32 minutes of silence for what I'm hearing at Celtic Park. Use that to your advantage. I said it last time on the show as well. Go there and don't be scared. And look, Jens will know that they can go and get a result. They can. I don't think there's any reason why they can't. It's whether they can keep themselves defensively solid or not, and that's probably been Motherwell's biggest problem. I think they've sorted that now, 2 clean sheets in a row. But the back line's always been shifting a bit to start the season, so maybe Jens has now found his best defence, and that'll be the one to kick forward, because up until that semi-final, they have some really winnable games in there. Falkirk, Livingston, Dundee United. It's games they can look to try and get 3 points out of.
Yeah, and you think as well with Motherwell, they've obviously played Rangers this season on the opening day, and I know Rangers have been terrible this season, certainly in the league, but they've still got on paper one of the best squads in the league. They hosted Rangers and should have beat them. They obviously got that late goal through Longelo, the equaliser, but they should have really beat Rangers on the balance of play. And before that, Rangers were on the high of a new manager. They had done well to get past Panathinaikos, although I think the performance wasn't always there for Rangers. They still were massive underdogs to get anything against Rangers. They turned up, played their football, and everyone sat back and went, well, this looks really good. This is really entertaining football to watch. We're going to enjoy watching Motherwell this season, and that's transpired pretty much through the most of Motherwell's games. The results just haven't been there. They managed to finally get over that hump against Aberdeen last week in the Cup, and then they go again at home this time. But yeah, as you said, there's no reason why they can't go to Celtic Park and play that expansive style that Berfalascu has made his at Motherwell so far and get a result. I don't think they will. I think it could be possibly something of what you want, Robbie, because I think it is always really difficult to go to Celtic Park and Ibrox. Celtic Park more especially, I would say, over recent years, because Rangers are more prone to a poor performance, as we know. That it could get ugly because you open yourself up to conceding lots of chances, giving the ball away, playing out from the back and stuff like that, which can give away massive chances, especially against a team of Celtic who are going to press more than anyone else in the division. So, but I hope for an entertainment spectacle. It's a really close and even game that has a lot of goals. And we've obviously seen teams like the past, like even Falkirk last season. It's a game I always like to go back to in the League Cup. They came and played their expansive football as a championship team under John McGlynn, and had Celtic fans worrying for a lot of the game before Celtic did eventually kick on in the final 10-15 minutes. But yeah, that's a really entertaining game that I'm looking forward to next week, along with the Edinburgh Derby as the two standouts.
If this game even was against Rangers and it was played at, doesn't matter if it was played at Fir Park or Ibrox, I'd be back in Motherwell to go and win. Never mind, sitting maybe settle for a point. I think you're right, there is such a difference between Ibrox and Celtic Park. And by the way, under no illusions, it'll be a really tough test for Motherwell. Regardless of whether Celtic Park's quiet, I know it's still going to be tough, and they know they're going to be up to the task. But I think from a Jens point of view and a Motherwell point of view, I don't see why they can't go and get something for the game. If they play their stuff, they're defensively solid, then you can go and beat anybody. But if it was that game at Fir Park where they drew 1-1 at the start of the season that you alluded to, playing it this weekend, I'd be convinced Motherwell were going to pick up 3 points.
Yeah. Quite possibly, because any team or most teams that look like they are really sure of what they're doing and they're a coherent unit, looks like they could beat Rangers at the minute, or at least get a point against them. Hibs weren't a coherent unit last week. Livingston were pretty unlucky not to get anything, although Rangers probably should have been out of sight in the first half, as I said. Celtic were nowhere near a coherent unit when they went to Ibrox. So yeah, I think Motherwell could sort of beat Rangers if they were to play them.
Just a wee
really good so far.
Just a wee shout out to Andy Halliday for these comments about us on Sky as well. It's always nice to get some recognition for the Sky Sports panel. So cheers for that one, Andy. We'll see you in the semis, hopefully with us getting through and you getting knocked out, eat your own words. But Ethan, you mentioned it there. It is a very, very good card at the weekend. Obviously, we'll be back on, I'm sure, on Friday to speak more about it. But there's some very, very nice looking fixtures there.
Yeah, exactly that. A lot to look forward to, and obviously we've got Europe to come as well before then. So yeah, big week. We're well and truly in the flow of Scottish football, and a lot of entertainment happening. To Scotland's biggest clubs really struggling, although Rangers struggling a lot less after their win yesterday. Celtic struggling but still getting the results, and Hearts flying high at the top of the league table. And the last game, I think, unless you've got any more points on that one, the surprising result, I've got to say, possibly, I'll say surprise result of the weekend. Well, no, you can't really say that, can you? Because Rangers winning's possibly a surprise at that point. Celtic not winning is at home possibly a surprise as well. But I really didn't see Kilmarnock going to Tannadice and winning 2-0. Did you, Robbie?
No, well, I didn't see it that much, Ethan. That please gamble responsibly. I had Dundee United on my ACA to win at the weekend, so that showed how much I had trust in Jim Goodwin. But I'm no surprised, if you get me. Obviously, I managed to watch Kilmarnock against us, and they're a good team. They're well coached under Stuart Kettlewell. I think he's one of the most underappreciated coaches in the league, actually, if I'm being honest. I really like him. I like the work he does. I think he's a great manager. And look, he's got that Kelly team firing. They scored 2 goals against us. They've scored another 2, kept a clean sheet away at a tough Tannadice, where Dundee United had a good start of the season. I have not got to see this game, Ethan, but I've got to say, before I watch highlights, I'm very impressed with the way Kilmarnock handled their business.
Yeah, exactly that. Dundee United, apart from Hearts, are the top scorers in the league. 11 goals in 6 games. Well, 11 goals in 5 games, because they didn't obviously score at the weekend. But they've also conceded 10 in 6 games. So shows that Dundee United are your sort of most entertaining team to watch. You could say, if you're looking at it from a goals point of view. And we've seen some great games with Dundee United already. The one at Easter Road comes to mind. But yeah, a great result for Kilmarnock to go there and get a win. And now they're all in the top 6 conversation because it's so close in the middle of the table, and you expect it to be because it's so early in the season. But I think there's a real host of teams that you could say could really make a case for top 6. St Mirren, of course, Motherwell started seeing really well. Dundee United again, Hibs, Kilmarnock, Rangers, yeah, can make a case for top 6. Dundee, no, I don't think Dundee. I think Dundee, Livingston, and Falkirk. I think the place they find themselves in just now, I wouldn't be surprised if they're in about that area. Aberdeen, I still think their squad's just too good to be where they are, so I think they will sort of turn it around. But no, I seen the goals. I didn't see the full highlights, but looking at the stats, it looked like Dundee United had more of the possession, more of the chances by a little bit. But obviously, Kelly take their goals well. I'm just noticing Max Striet got a 9.2 rating, which is quite a lot. 7 saves, 2.23 expected goals prevented. So he's looked like a really good signing for them. I know he was maybe a little bit suspect for one of the goals last weekend against St Mirren, where he maybe should have saved. I think it was Mandron's goal that he could have done maybe a little bit better with. But yeah, he's looked like a solid signing in goals, and Stuart Kettlewell looks like he knows what he's doing at Kilmarnock, and he's got them playing really well. That's an absolutely brilliant result. I've got to say, I really didn't see that coming. The goals were good as well. Bruce Anderson, it was a nice strike from him. And then Robbie Dees, back-to-back goals for him. I was making the point last week to somebody that he's never scored more than 1 goal in a season. Now he's got 2 in 2 weeks or 2 in 2 games. So, yeah, surprising that he's scored another goal. But no, an excellent result for Kilmarnock, and I think they're going to be in the conversation for top 6 again. And yeah, the league's shaping up really nicely.
I think this goes a bit under the radar. In the last 6 matches, Kilmarnock have went unbeaten against Dundee United, so they're certainly no underdogs gone away to Tannadice. They know how to beat Dundee United, which will probably frustrate Goodwin. He'll want to get that win out of them. And you've got to give him huge credit. Strayak looks like he'd maybe had a kick up the backside. I thought some of his saves against us were debatable, to be honest. I thought he could have done a lot better on penalties, certainly. They'll take that now going forward. Kilmarnock obviously play us at home next week, which I'm not looking forward to, I'll be honest. I think it'll be another really tough game. And I think Kettle will want to rewrite the wrongs of the cup and try and get that win out of us. So they'll be fit and firing, but like Kilmarnock, like anybody, are in that race for the top 6 right now. Obviously, it doesn't look like Aberdeen are anywhere near. You've probably got to argue it doesn't look like Rangers are anywhere near the top 6 right now. They obviously they get the win, but they still don't look great. So there's a lot of good teams battling right now, Ethan. I'm excited. The Scotland squad's obviously tomorrow. I hope Reagan's there because I actually need to bounce out right now. So I do hope Reagan's sitting backstage. And I'll speak to you guys hopefully at some point this week.
All right, see you later.
I'll try and wait until Reagan comes back. If he's only going to be a minute, I'm not sure where he's went to. But Ethan, I want to ask you a question quickly. And I asked it to Reagan the last time we were on the show together. The Scotland squad, there's been a player that's scored a hat-trick in the Bundesliga. Is there any chance we see Ollie Buck returning to the squad?
I think he should be, but I don't think he will. That's my opinion. But yeah, I would like to see him in it because although he's not maybe always been the greatest player for Scotland and he wasn't maybe the greatest player for Celtic either, I think he should be in there. And yeah, but I don't think he will. I think Steve Clarke will stick with his guns and what he knows, unfortunately for Buck.
Unfortunately for Mikel Mandron as well. He's been sitting firing. I'd love to see him get a call up, but no, would it surprise me if we seen Buck in McBurney? Probably not. I think it's most likely to be Buck over McBurney, but the guy's got 1 assist and 1 goal in his last game, so you can't exactly write him off either. It will be interesting to see the squad. I'm unfortunately going to have to leave you though, Ethan.
That's fine.
I think Reagan's been caught up in a dressing room emergency. I think he's maybe lost his spare part. Spilt some blood in his original one. They can't find the other one, so hopefully it comes in. But I will speak to you guys later.
Right, see you later, Robbie.
Goodbye.
Well, I'm here myself now. So you know what I'm going to do for the viewers that are still watching? I'm going to give my predictions for next week's Scottish Premiership matches. Let me see. Okay, so on Saturday we've got 3 games. Got Dundee United v Livingston, and I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to Jim Goodwin's team. And then the only other 3 o'clock game, I think we just mentioned it there, Kilmarnock v St Mirren. Difficult one to call, and I'm going to sit on the fence with this one. I'm going to go with a 1 each draw for both these teams. 2 very difficult teams to beat. Only penalties split them last weekend or last Friday night even. So yeah, I think that'll be a 1 each draw. And then in the Edinburgh derby, this is a difficult one to call. I'm going to go for a 2-1 home win to the Jambos. I think that'll be a really good game. Hopefully it will be on Premier Sports. And then on Sunday, and a triple header, obviously all 3 of the teams in European action this week. Aberdeen hosting Dundee, and I think Aberdeen are going to do it. I think they're going to get their first win of the season, scoring their first goal. I think it will be ugly, but I think they'll win 1-0. I don't think this can continue under Jimmy Tilleen. I think they will turn it round. Celtic v Motherwell. I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to Celtic. I wouldn't be surprised if Motherwell come and play an absolute masterclass. Jens Ball under Jens Berfalascu and surprise the Celtic fans and hand Celtic their second failed victory in the Scottish Premiership in back-to-back weekends. But I do think Celtic will win but I think both teams will score. I'll go 3-1 Celtic. And then finally, Rangers head to the Falkirk Stadium, and it could be an interesting game on the surface there. I actually think Rangers are going to pull through and win this and make it a run of 3 domestic wins in a row. I'm going to say a 2-0 win to Rangers, and I think Russell Martin is going to be slowly building progress. I still don't know if he's the answer for Rangers long term, but I think he'll get the result required.
Sorry, Ethan.
No, it's fine. Just leave me hanging, Reagan.
Sorry, I thought Robbie was still on there.
No, Robbie went away. He had to go.
Okay, so but thank you to everybody watching, and we'll see you again for the European action during the week. Thank you, guys.
You're watching the Scottish Football Zone with all